So obviously in your career, you've seen a lot of good managers. You talked about Dan, you talked about Tom. Um, some others may have had a few opportunities for growth, presumably. What are the lessons that you've taken away from people who managed you, so to speak?
Sure. So I've had some challenging bosses in my career, and this is a little cliche, but you can often learn how to do things from a good boss, and you can learn how you don't want to do things from a boss who's maybe not as good. And I think that's just as valuable. Is you learn when I get a chance to lead people or be around large organizations at a leadership level, like I don't want to do it this way because I experienced this and I hated it and it wasn't effective. And I had a lot of that in my my career trajectory. Is I'm so incredibly lucky now to have two bosses who are incredible human beings and incredible leaders, in Tom and Chris Greer, our GM. But that wasn't the case for the majority of my career. But it's learning how to overcome challenges, how you don't want to do things, and how to really deal with this idea of like I shared earlier. I grew up wanting to do, in large part, the job that I was doing and am doing, and I hated it. So there was this realization of it's maybe your dreams, like there's a reality associated with it that is normal, and you have to overcome it, and you have to get through the adversity and learn how to deal with challenging situations and unfair being overlooked for titles or promotions or money. And I had a boss for a while who refused to give me a vice president title, and I would have so I used to, when I would get frustrated, I would say I'm either severely undertitled or severely overpaid, and it was just this idea of he wanted my path to be what his was, which was he worked for a boss that wouldn't reward people who earned it, and you had to pay your dues, and you had to work this artificial amount of time before you can get this artificial title and reach this artificial salary threshold or whatever it is. And I swore through that time period that if I had the opportunity to be in a leadership role, that I would never do some of those things. And I hopefully I don't do them, but you learn as much from the bad experiences and the bad bosses as you do from the good ones. That's for sure.
So are there particular attributes of your leaders and bosses that kind of stick out as vital, and has that kind of informed your approach? Individual attributes that you can think of, anything that stands out in your mind?
Sure, and I have the unique privilege in our organization of interviewing the finalists for every role at every level in the organization, and with that, you learn. And serve as, I get the privilege to serve as like this barometer of, does this candidate have the traits to be successful? And it's really the traits of our leaders, because we want to build this environment where we're a high performing culture that delivers great results and does it in a way that we can be proud of, with high integrity and character and all those things. So what I look for, or what I've experienced from good bosses, is what I look for in the candidates that we hire, which is this this mindset of continuous learning and always trying to improve and get better. And that's a trait that I try to identify in candidates at all levels, and it's hard in certain instances to try to figure that out in a 15-minute Teams interview, but it's about trying to read whether somebody doesn't act like they have all the answers. And you don't want anyone who thinks they've arrived. I joke that we're not a retirement job for folks. Like we're this ongoing, living, breathing organization that is always evolving, always growing, And I give this example, and I'll bring up Tom again, is he has this custom piece of art in his office, and it's artifacts from his career, ticket stubs and pamphlets and all these pictures, and it spells out always be learning. And it's this ethos we try to implement throughout the organization. And I tell the junior salesperson or whoever it is, you know, if he thinks he should still be learning, like, who are we to think we've got it all figured out? And I think that's the best folks I've been around are always learning. They're not trying to be right, and they want you to challenge them. I think some of the growth that I experienced early on was that I wasn't scared to tell the truth or challenge to the people in quote-unquote power. And as you get higher in the org chart, there's fewer people who tell you the truth because they like job security and they want to be liked. And I had, you know, for whatever reason, an irrational confidence of, you know, I will tell the truth and I'll live and die by the truth. And if that's not something that is rewarded in this organization, then I don't want to be here. And, you know, I really enjoy working with leaders that don't want yes men and women around them. You want to be challenged. Now, your challenge better be well thought out. It better not be on a whim or, you know, totally off the wall. But you want folks who are, you know, what we say is disciplined but not dogmatic. You want a disciplined approach to decision making and problem solving, and you want to be disciplined within these guidelines that exist towards a certain goal. But you can't be dogmatic because context matters, situations matter. You deal with human beings, so you can't put a human being in a box, let alone two human beings in the same box. Everybody's different. So it's about this, you know, applying judgment, taking into account your own experiences, the situation, the people you're dealing with, and ultimately, you know, get to what you think is the best decision. But you know, that's what I love about the leaders that I get to work with, and we try to hire more and more people like that because those are the people in our environment who end up being the most successful.